us. Well, hey everyone, I am here with Derik Steiner. Hey Derik.
How we doing today?
Great. So I had went into the Facebook page earlier, started talking about auctions, but you're actually a real estate agent and an auctioneer. So I think your
Yes.
perspective will probably be a little bit better. Tell us about the auction strategy and like your role and
Well, as we all know how this market is here, at least in Warren County, Hamilton County, Butler County. You've got something under 350. You're going to get multiple offers. You're going to have an escalation clause. It's going to go quick.
it already feels like an auction is what I was saying before. Yeah.
And multiple offers is an auction scenario. I mean, the only thing different for an auction versus multiple offers, an auction, everybody has the same terms and conditions. The only thing different is what one person's willing to pay. When you're dealing with the multiple offer situation, somebody could come in with no closing cost. Somebody could come in with, no inspection. Somebody could come in with no appraisal. At an auction, that's all. There's no contingencies in the contract.
Okay.
So when you write your offer, if you're the highest bidder and you write the contract, there are no contingencies in the contract. No appraisal contingency, no inspection, no financing. You
Can
put
I ask you a
10%
quick
down.
question about that? So if we have a client that like wants occupancy after closing, is that something that so the seller can basically make like the terms and then, okay, I got it. So they can have any terms, which it kind of makes it easier, except it seems like then your pool of buyers is like a lot more narrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it does with the 10%. That's the biggest piece that narrows your buying pool down, is how much money I recommend that they put down. I mean, I recommend 10% on all the real estate auctions, just because I think that, separates the people that, are potentially interested but not sure. I mean, if you're going to put 10% down on a $200,000 house, I mean, you're ready to do it.
Right. Is there a way for them to get it back? Because as you know, in like a regular contract, like there are a lot of contingencies, but because there's no contingencies,
they can get it. It is a non-refundable 10% down unless the seller cannot produce a clear title.
What about if they can get financing, right? It doesn't have to be cash.
Absolutely.
So what if they don't get financing?
They lose their 10%.
Oh, it's a non-refundable. And that's something we've been talking to people a lot about, is like how to win the offer, putting in this like non-refundable contingency. And in some states, they will even do like 2 forms of earnest money, one that's refundable, and then the second one that's non-refundable. So like, okay, all right, that's cool. So then what about, is it always on like a certain day and time, or do you do it like electronic?
I do. I personally, I like to do it at the property location. I forget. I watched the video. I had a real estate agent that actually came to the auction, and she was on your show there a couple weeks ago. And
Kara, it was Kara.
There you go, Kara Whiteshell. There you go.
Hey, Kara, shout out.
And I like doing it in person. I like doing it because I like people to see who's bidding. I mean, in an auction, there is an emotional side to it. If you really want something and you see the person next to you bid and you're like, well, I'm not going to let them get it. I need to, whether that's personal property, whether that's a tractor, a mower, a cow, a goat, or a house, it doesn't matter. There's the emotional factor when it comes to auctioneering. And that's what I like. I like to try and get that emotional factor built in. That way people spend a little bit more money when it's, whether it's ego or, bragging rights or anything.
But what if they can't make it
to the auction? Well, they can have an agent represent them, but they need to be there. They can do phone bids. I mean, I've never taken a phone bid on real estate just because everybody's always been there. But I would need to have at least a check that I could fill out that day.
Hey. Yeah.
for the 10% down.
Okay, got it. So, is it an absolute auction? The ones you do?
Most of the ones I've done have been auctions with reserve.
Okay. So it's just, so for people that don't understand between the difference between an absolute and a reserve, can you just quickly explain that?
So in the state of Ohio, an absolute auction means that it's selling no matter the price.
Okay.
So you could have, real estate and somebody, the opening bid is $25,000 on a 5,000 square foot, 15-acre horse farm. $5,000, nobody else bids against them. It could potentially, it will sell for that.
That's crazy, right?
Because
Yeah,
that's an
that's
absolute
the allure.
auction.
But that's the allure of
Right.
the auction, right? It's like people that go there feel like they can get a deal.
Absolutely. Now, in an auction with reserve is the seller has the right to put whatever they want as the reserve of the property. Now, it's my job to make sure the reserve is in a spot where I believe that we can make it, that it's attainable.
Okay.
And it's at their discretion if they want to disclose the reserve prior to the auction or not. But yeah, I mean, going back to what you said about everybody thinks they're going to get a deal at auction. Yeah, in auctions, I have an uncle that lives north of Columbus, and he is in the auction business. Okay. Real estate, personal property, everything. Auctions are very prevalent north of I-70. So okay. Everything, nobody thinks twice about, it's something's wrong with the house if it's going to auction. Once you get south,
that is
because it's still really rural up there. Auctions are a lot more prevalent up north of I-70 than they are south of I-70. And I don't know why that's the cutoff, but it seems like that's the cutoff. It is. But everybody in auctions down here, people think, one, there's something wrong with it. Two, it's a foreclosure.
Right.
Three, whatever. They think they're going to get a great deal on it, or something's really wrong with the house. And that's not necessarily the case. It is just it's another great way to market a property. I mean, that house in Monroe I did 3 or 4 weeks ago. I mean, we had 25 registered bidders. I mean, the whole yard was packed full of people that, I should have taken a picture, but I was more worried about getting the property sold. But it's a fascinating process, and it works. I mean, we got, probably 10% higher than what the sellers really wanted for the house when we had talked about what it's worth. And, I think both sides got a great deal. And it was a fair market value for a good home.
Do you do the fast talking, the auction talking?
I do.
Can we hear some?
I will do. I only do it for commission usually.
Oh, come on. It'll be fun.
I will do one of the rhythmic tongue twisters that we were trained with to try and do.
Perfect.
It's called Betty Botter. Okay. I don't know when the last time I did, it's been a few weeks, but Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said this butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, let me make my batter bitter. So she bought a bit of better butter, put it in her bitter batter, made her bitter batter better. So does Betty Botter bought a bit of better butter.
Oh, that's good. Good job.
That is the Betty Botter. That's one of the rhythmic tongue twisters we use to warm up. And as you can tell, I didn't warm up today before this. So.
I thought it was great. You did an awesome job. Now, just the last question I wanted to ask you is, tell us what type of person or what type of property auctions are the best for, so people get an idea.
New listings.
Okay.
I mean, in this market right now, and that can change, but right now, new listings. Put it up there for 4 to 6 weeks, maybe even 3 to 5 weeks right now. Put it up, set a date. And the great thing about auctions is you can still accept offers up until the time of the auction.
Okay.
So just because you put it up on, say I put it up tomorrow, Wednesday, and it's not auctioning until May 30th, we can look at offers all the way up until May 30th. If somebody comes in with an offer It's still the terms and conditions of the auction. They have to put their 10% down, that's what I recommend, but it doesn't have to be. And you can accept an offer prior to the auction. So it's just like a traditional listing up until the day of the auction. They just have that auction piece.
Yeah, but I was thinking, like, in my head, like, from a perspective standpoint, I was thinking that it wouldn't be like any listing, especially in today's market. I was thinking just because, like, it already feels like an auction, and to wait 30 days when you could have it done in 2. But I guess and a lot of people are already releasing all those inspections and contingencies and stuff.
Right. But the 10% down is huge. That's non-refundable.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's a big deal.
That's a game changer for sure.
And you're not questioning if there's an appraisal contingency. You're not questioning if there's an inspection contingency. You're not the financing contingency. These are already part of the contract. So you already know what you're going to get.
Yeah. I like the idea that the terms are the same. So like in our like on a regular sale, if it's financing, or even on yours, if it's financing, their bank will require an appraisal. But like, are you saying that in the contract, it's already written that as the buyer, they're paying that? Yeah. If there's a gap, they're paying it regardless.
Absolutely. Yeah. If they pay 200 for the house and the bank appraises at 180, they're covering that 20 grand difference, or they're losing their 20 grand down.
Wow, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But most people have like a finite amount of money.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. I would think that it would work really well for houses that are like unique.
Why are we so worried about, the seller and the buyer and the buyer's agent need to do their due diligence?
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't think it's going to appraise, then why are they putting that money down? If they don't think that it's going to do any of that, that's their job.
Yeah.
So
it also gives the buyers like some time, if they do want to do some due diligence, to
do an inspection. They can have somebody come in and I've had people come and do, spend $2,500, $3,000 on inspections on everything. I remember I sold a horse farm up on 48, close to 73 up there. I mean, the buyer on that place did, almost $3,000 worth of inspections. I mean, it was a 5,500 square foot house, an 18-acre horse farm. And she actually was the one that ended up getting it bought. But there was 2 or 3 other inspections at that time on that. You can do your due diligence up until the day of the auction. And that's on your cost, and you can do it. And if you love it, great. If not, then the next person will buy it.
Yeah. So you have like a lot less fallout, whereas like in maybe a regular home, there's like more fallout potentially.
Right.
Yeah. Plus the non-refundable is nice.
Yeah, we talked about the grenades in the contract. There's no grenades in this contract unless the seller can't produce a clear title. And that's mostly part of my job to make sure that all that's fine before I take it on as a listing.
Is the seller is the seller the one that chooses the title company, or can the buyer still choose their title company?
I leave that up to the seller.
Okay.
And most of the time they want me to recommend somebody to do it.
And if they've done the search, it's kind of already in process.
Right. Absolutely. I don't know. The title company I use is Prodigy. They've done all my auctions. They understand the process. They understand the process of my auctions and the terms and conditions. And they've always done a great job. I don't mean to shoot a plug out there for anybody.
No, Prodigy is great. That's fine.
Yeah, they've done phenomenal. So that's who I like to use, just because they're familiar with the process of the auctions.
So then does the seller or buyer pay you?
Well, and that's the other great thing about an auction. You can have a seller's paid commission, or you can have a buyer's paid commission. So it's called a buyer's premium. So, get a listing contract, figure out what the sellers want, whether they want, if they're going to pay it or they want the buyers to pay it. 95% of the time, they leave it up to me. What do you think is the best way to do it? And,
Yeah.
That's not really my decision to make.
Right.
But the buyer's premium is typically 10%, and that is on top of the hammer price of the auction. So if the house sells for $200,000 at 10%, I would use that 10% down, non-refundable, as the buyer's premium. So they pay $20,000 for the premium. Mm-hmm. They still have to bring $20,000 to closing.
Oh,
200,000 to closing. I'm sorry. So it's on top of the hammer price.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty cool concept, and there's so many ways to sell the house, and it really depends on the house. It depends on what the seller is looking for and kind of who they
Right.
are. And I think presenting this option, because on face value, it seems like if you're doing regular real estate in a traditional market, it's in today's market, I mean, it's already an auction. But an actual auction has some nuances where it could actually be a better solution for the seller.
Right.
To do it.
I mean, and it can go into, I've helped my uncle sell, few hundreds and thousands of acres in different parcels. And that's where I really think that the auction does its best work, is at a multi-parcel land auction.
Yeah.
And if anybody has a chance to look up a multi-parcel land auction, do it, because it really is fascinating. Say you've got 50 acres and they're all perfectly the same. You split it up into 5-10 acre parcels. Mm-hmm. You get 20,000 for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So each lot's worth 20 grand a piece. You come in and somebody wants to bid on all 5 parcels, 250 grand, takes all of them, and then it knocks out all the people. So all the 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 are bidding against each other. It's hard to explain, but it's fantastic to listen to and to watch, and I really enjoy doing those. And those need to become more prevalent. Although in Warren County, and this is where I was born and raised, on a farm here in Warren County. Mm-hmm. I made the decision when I got my real estate license and auctioneer's license. I didn't want to see farms go to developers. I didn't want to see the commercial deal, the residential deal. I wanted farms to say farms, because that's how I was raised and what I did. Mm-hmm. But it's going to happen. It was going to happen whether I did or didn't get involved with it. So I might as well try and get a paycheck while it's going on, is eventually what I came up with. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the multi-parcel piece is really
that does seem like that does seem like a really good use for the auction. I was also thinking we had a berm home that it could have been good for too. Are you finding a lot of the winning bids are cash or financing?
Cash.
That's what I was thinking.
And on my traditional side, those are all cash.
Yeah. Right.
So nobody's getting any financing right now, which is crazy to me. Whether it's I listed a house 2 weeks ago as a traditional listing. Mm-hmm. Obviously I can't go over what it was, but it was cash, and it was a substantial amount of cash that was being put down for this house, and we closed in a week and a half.
Right, get it. That's awesome. Good for everyone.
Which is great. But I just don't know where all this cash is coming from.
They're just
I don't know that. I guess there's that Dogecoin thing that's going out there. I don't know if they're already pulling all their money out of that or what. But I don't play in the stocks. We gamble at real estate every day, so I don't feel the need to play in the stock market.
Yeah. Well, I can definitely tell there's a lot of nuance. I think if people in Ohio are interested in something like this and they have specific questions, it's probably going to be best to reach out to you directly, because I feel like we could probably go on for another 30, 45 minutes on everything.
Right. Yeah.
So you work with realtors also.
Yeah. And in the buyer's premium, I mean, 10%, there's a lot of money that can be split up for referrals or, co-listing or anything
Whatever.
on if it's a buyer's paid commission.
Okay, perfect. What is the best way to get a hold of you?
My cell phone is the best way to get a hold of me. 513-616-0365. My email is D as in Derik Steiner @comey.com. And then we have our auction website, which is SteinerAuctions.biz. That if you guys just want to look, I've got an online auction, couple online auctions of some old stuff going on this week. So there'll be a link to all that stuff because we can do it online or we can do it live. But that really keeps a track of everything that's going on.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you being on. It's definitely helped with
thank you.
some perspective. Thanks a lot, Derik.
Not a problem. Have a good one.
You too.